Good evening and happy Sabbath, Covenant Advent Church. And good evening and happy Sabbath to those of you who've joined us online. Welcome back for our evening study. Thank you for joining, and I pray you'll be richly blessed as we spend the remaining moments of the Sabbath together. We will start with hymn number 528, A Shelter in the Time of Storm. Hymn number 528. The Lord's our rock, in him we hide, a shelter in the time of storm, secure whatever may betide, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand, faithful guide for the pilgrim band, a shelter in the time of storm. A shade by day, defense by night, a shelter in the time of storm. No fears alarm, no foes affright, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand, faithful guide for the pilgrim band, a shelter in the time of storm. The raging floods may round us beat, a shelter in the time of storm. We find in God a safe retreat, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand, faithful guide for the pilgrim band, a shelter in the time of storm. O rock divine, a refuge dear, a shelter in the time of storm. Be thou our helper ever near, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on the burning sand, faithful guide for the pilgrim band, a shelter in the time of storm. Amen. I'll now turn the study over to Pastor Lloyd Grubb.
Good evening again, everyone, and welcome to our evening study where we're continuing in our teachings, our studies in faith. We're just looking at faith here and an encouragement and guidance on the topic of faith. So welcome again. Blessed Sabbath to you, Sabbath afternoon, and let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for the blessings, dear Lord, of being a shelter in the time of storm as it is raining outside. I know, dear Lord, that you not only want to shelter us from storm, but you want to pour out your Spirit on us. May you bless us as we study. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So we're looking at a topic. We're continuing with our studies in faith. And faith is to exercise patience is our topic for today. This topic in pressing forward with our studies in faith. Faith is to exercise patience. And so we have to be patient. And faith is in itself an exercise that is an exercise of patience. So again, our theme for this quarter is everyone needs to exercise faith, even secular people. If not, much blunder and missteps will happen, much blunder missteps. So this is my premise, and I'll continue to flesh out the thought. Our main text is in Romans chapter 14, verse 23. Romans chapter 14, verse 23. And it says here, and he that doubted is damned if he eat, because he eateth not of faith. For whatsoever is not of faith is sin. So this text here, what Paul's used, is going to be our main text and our main thought, especially this last part here that says, because he eateth not of faith, for whatsoever is not of faith is sin. So when we talk about sin, sin is a transgression of God's law. But when we talk about faith, that when we do things that are outside of faith, then whatever that is, because it's not faithful or it's not true to facts, the data, then it is sin. So when we talk about this, when we've applied this to the secular world, if a secular person is doing something and they say, well, I'm not doing something wrong, but they're doing something that it might not be true to the data, that if you follow the data, or they're not giving you all the information, talk about informed consent, then in itself it is sin. We're going to clarify more. So when we talk about patience now, because faith is to exercise patience, we now have to define what is faith and what is patience. So notice here in Hebrews 11 verse 1, and we're going to read verse 1 and 2, part of our main text for this quarter. It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtain a good report. Now when you think about that, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for. So faith is not something that I'm exercising for something I already have, as there's no need to have faith, right? Faith is substance in itself of things that I'm hoping for. So it's an act that I'm hoping for something and I believe I'm going to have it. It's believe and trust. I trust I'm going to get it, but I'm going to get it in the future. So this is what I'm saying. Everybody in some way or the other do exercise faith. But as Christians, we believe you have to live by faith. Our whole lifestyle is about choices based upon faith. But it doesn't exclude the person who might say, no, Lord, I don't have to live by faith. I'm not a Christian. Because everybody in some way, when I analyze it, which is what I'm doing this quarter, has to live by a measure of faith. Because what it is, we all hope for something. Now, we hope for a better life here on this earth and ultimately a life in heaven and then the earth made new, a life of peace. So if I don't have that, or whatever I don't have, I am hoping for it. But hope is not something that is manifest now, it's something that will manifest itself in the future. So the whole exercise of faith, in that reason and regard, takes into account this idea of patience. Because I have to know that I'm going to exercise this act that in the future will result in what I hope for. So that's the context of faith and patience. I have faith that I'm going to do this, and in the future, I have to wait to get that outcome. So when we want a solution for a problem, or we want something to be successful, we are willing to delay and to wait a while to get to it. So hence, that delay is where patience comes in. You can't be impatient and be a person of faith. You can't be impatient and be a person that is living by faith. It is a contradiction. Faith and hope all are tied in with patience. Notice here. The evidence, faith is the evidence of things not seen. So it's not just in the past I didn't see something. In the future, I didn't see the thing yet. It's not made manifest. It's not solid. Because I don't have it right now. So what is in your life that you're looking to gain tomorrow? What is it that you're looking to access tomorrow? That is all an issue of faith and hope. I want to graduate and do a certain job. I'm going to have to patiently work towards that. If I give up too early, or if difficulty comes and I give up too early or I get tripped up, then I don't accomplish what I hope for. So hence, I have to exercise faith and hope, and mainly have to exercise patience. Now notice this here, Romans 10 verse 17. Romans 10 verse 17 is one of the best definitions in the Bible, both of them given by Paul, of what is the definition of faith. Notice here, So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. We normally call the gospel the good news. Good news about what? A better life here on earth and eternal life. So both of it take into account that I desire something future-wise, or I have something I'm interested in that can give me a solution for my problem. And so I have to patiently exercise faith. It's something that is future-looking. So next I'm going to read about patience, and then we're going to go along and clarify some more things. Patience. So patience is the capacity, this is the meaning of patience, the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. So if you're a person of faith, you are automatically going to run into delay. You're automatically going to run into trouble, right? You're automatically going to run into some suffering. And you have to exercise faith. That means a person who's of faith, who is going through all of this, because they're patient and exercising patience and exercising faith, because faith is the exercise of patience, then you don't get angry and upset because there's some trouble, there's some suffering, or there's a delay. Because it's the capacity of accepting or tolerating delay, trouble, or suffering. And so, but here's the thing. Even a person who's secular has to go through all of this. Because everything that we want in life, you don't get it today. As a matter of fact, you think about all the shortages that are going on. If you're living in this life and you're secular and you get in, just angry because there are delays, then that tells me that even a secular person have to deal with that, because there's always going to be in this life delay, trouble, suffering, right? There's always going to be getting caught up there. Is always going to be delay in this life. None of us are immune from this. So that's why I look at it and say everybody needs this, because a lot of the things that we see that a person will say, well, it's because they're the pagan, heathen, or the evolutionists, that they're having a problem with, is because they don't think that they need to exercise faith, or they need to exercise patience. But you, especially as a Christian, should know that yes, there's always going to be something that there's going to be a delay. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be troubles. There's going to be some suffering. But if you're always in this mindset that if I have suffering, I must get a solution right now, and I must get it now, then the problem is you might get a solution that's a bad solution. Why, if you had exercised patience, you could suffer a little bit and get a better solution. But some people want instant gratification. And that's what makes the life of a person who don't believe in God often so bad, because they don't want to experience any delay, any troubles, or any suffering. So they create more suffering. Another explanation for the word patience, or the attribute or the characteristics of being patient, or patience, exercising patience, or the Bible uses the word often forbearing. Forbearing meaning you're holding back. You're willing to go to the second or third position and wait your turn. Is a state of endurance under difficult circumstances. So faith, when we say Abraham is faithful, we say, yeah, he's very faithful because he's willing to wait for the promise to be fulfilled, even when time is running out. I know about many people. I've seen people a person that they're like, say, 40, and they haven't got their first child yet, and they start panicking because the problem is not they didn't get the first child yet, they're not even married. And you start to see the panic, and often they go make a choice to do some things that is not in accordance with faith or patience. And they do that, and then they live to regret those choices. And so it's that type of thing. You see somebody, I need to make some money, and I get an opportunity to make some money. And they get involved with a business transaction that 10, 20 years later, they're still paying the price for it, because they couldn't delay and wait for a better opportunity. So faith is always connected with patience.
because it is that through that patience that you get that success. So we want to be able to exercise patience. So it's endurance. Normally you say somebody have endurance, that means they can go and do a 26-mile, let's say a marathon. But some people can run a marathon in their life. They can wait for a blessing to come. But sometimes we lose faith, we get impatient, and we say, man, the solution is taking too long. I have to make my own choices. And the person make a choice that make things worse. So notice here, which can mean persevering in the face of delay or provocation without acting negative, annoyance or anger. So this is where we hold ourselves, because sometimes things have to wait. And as I say, I'm not going to, sugarcoat it or hide it. A lot of it I was thinking about, because I was thinking about from, late last year into June, and I was like, it seemed like certain things are going a certain way, and it seemed like they're going to win a certain way with the lies. And I'm talking about with COVID. And then I'm thinking about this and say, secular people should go learn faith. Everybody should learn faith. Because taking a solution that is a short-term victory that could end up killing you is not, to me, what a Christian should do. So we all should exercise faith. And so it is that you also have to watch certain things play out, because that's what faith is. And all this is an exercise that we need to exercise. Notice here. Or exhibit forbearance when under strain, especially when faced with long-term difficulties. So especially when you come on for health. When you're trying to overcome in health, sometimes it takes months. But most people, if you can't give them a pill for every ill, and they can't get a solution within a week or a day or a few hours, they don't want it. And most of those people, you end up dying because they don't learn to exercise faith. Patience is the level of endurance one can take before negativity. It is also used to refer to the character trait of being steadfast. Antonyms include hastiness and impetuousness. So a person who is hasty always makes mistakes. I always find it that sometimes there's a deal that I get to buy something, and the deal that I get to buy something, I need to buy it immediately. And I realize that this is an opportunity, I need to grab the opportunity. But there are other times I realize that whatever I'm getting, that deal I'm getting, is not that good of a deal. And so I need to make sure, double check. I've been in a situation also that I'm getting a deal and the deal doesn't look good. And I think it's a bad deal. And then I went and double checked and found out this actually was a great deal. It just didn't look so good to me on paper at the time. I'm looking at the situation, I'm like, this is not too good of a deal. But when I look at my options, the deal was a good deal. But also that can be patience. You patiently go through the information you need to approve. And I realize, oh no, I need to go back tomorrow, I need to get that thing. That thing was a great deal, right? So patience is always take into account that idea of delay and difficulty. So because we live in this real world where we always deal with delay and difficulty, you always have to realize sometimes you have to delay certain things. I remember last year, I said before that there was a guy that I was watching on YouTube, and he was saying from last year's summer that the price of lumber is going to go up. But then the price of lumber did go up. But some people had stockpiled the lumber to let them get through the increase, so that when the decrease come back, they could restock the drawdown of the inventory they had. Then I remember reading some articles, and then some people saying, well, we can fix the price of lumber by just decreasing our consumption. Or the price of lumber has gone so high that they're going to force a decrease in consumption, hence force a drop in the price. Because if there's over demand, well, the quickest way to fix it is just to under demand, just to reduce demand. It goes peak, and then it hit a peak and drop off. That less demand make more supply comes in the pipeline. The supply comes in the pipeline, and then there's more availability. So what I realized, that there's things that I wanted to do, and what I need to do is just delay it and wait the price out. Now here's the problem that what panic set in, especially in business. In business, how panic set in is that you think, what if the price goes, you had hit $80-something for a sheet of plywood. So here's the thing. In your mind, you're like, I don't know the future. What if the price goes to $100? And then next year, it goes to $100. And now I could have got the project done, and I'm spending 20% more. But I'm already spending now probably 80% more or 70% more. And I could put that up to 90% if I wait another 6 months or so. See, but that's part of the calculation. But you can't make that calculation in rush. Whether the price is going to keep going up or it's going to come back down. That has to be something you start to assess. But that assessment will never be made positive or negative, up or down, in a haste. You have to be able to willing to say, not just I'm willing to take that risk because that's gambling, but as to say, what are the market forces? What is it, whatever, you do some calculation, you say, I think it's going to go back down. No, what happened? The prices drop back down. Because when you calculate it, I remember going online one time, and I was reading some comments on a carpenter's blog. A lot of people were saying they were carpenters, and I think they were genuine because they ended up proving to be right. Say, I guess, snow without, no, what they say, like hell would have to freeze over before they buy it at that price. So I said, wait a minute, if they're not buying at that price, my calculation with other calculations that we're making, the price is going to come back down. Because if the people who are supposed to be using it not buying it, and they're not buying it for a personal project, but probably for somebody else's project, it's going to create less demand. Then the price is going to go back. So I can patiently wait. And then a project I want to do, like this week I want to do a project here, I can go out and buy plywood because the plywood is reasonable price. But I wouldn't want to buy it, because for every one I would buy now, I think I'll have to buy 2.5. No, every 2.5 I want to buy now, I'd have to buy 1 then. It wasn't worth it. So, but something you have to delay. But delay doesn't mean you don't do anything. Delay means you make a calculation. In Luke chapter 8, verse 15, Luke 8, verse 15, notice it says here, but that on a good ground are they which in a honest and good heart, having heard the word, keep it and bring forth fruit with patience. So with the gospel, what it needs to get to a certain experience character-wise and lifestyle-wise, it takes patience. It takes patience to get that fruit, that what you need. Because like farming, if you want certain precious things, it's going to take some years. And even if you graft it, for the tree to get to a point where it can bear and hold a full harvest, the trunk and the limbs have to be a certain size. And it's the same thing with Christianity. You have to keep learning, practicing, meditating, study again, learning. And there comes a point where the fruit comes. But if you're not patient, because you're not exercising faith, because faith is to exercise patience, you will not get to that point where you get the fruit. So many people, they want Christianity, but they want it fast and they want it cheap. They want it like fast food. It's like white rice. They want it quick and they want it right now and they want instant gratification, and all they're going to get is sick and fat on that. So we don't want that. We want to know how we get the results. And we want to be honest in art, because some people we're dealing with, they're just not honest. That it's going to take you years to get to a certain place. You're not just going to get up one day and you're going to be at this place. It takes very much a lot of work and years to get to a certain place. And it's the same thing in business. There's some business that could take you 5, 3, 1, 10 years to get to a place where the business is successful, where you know your customer, you know how to serve your customer, and you know to garner the best income and to give the best results. That takes years of practice, but it will happen. This is why they normally say a person is tenured. And normally it's going to take 5 to 10 years before a person becomes a seasoned teacher, a seasoned carpenter. It just doesn't happen overnight. But some people, they want to come in. I even find it fascinating that I was seeing in one of the big mega churches that what they were asking people to do is to be a member with them for 1 year and give it a minimum commitment of 1 year. Because imagine, some of these churches have people cycling through. They go there, they praise the Lord, the church feel great, and they celebrate for a month or 2 weeks or something, and then they're out. And I'm seeing it, and I've settled that in my mind. That if somebody come here, and I don't even consider them attending, until after 3 months. Like, honestly, I don't even, honestly, I'm just being like literal. Like, if somebody come here, they come here for like 2, 3 weeks, they didn't attend to me. They don't, it's like the concept, there's no settling. If you watch me and somebody watch me and they watch me for a month, they probably got a little bit of flow, but they're not going to understand my flow. They're not going to understand what we do here, what the value. They're not going to see the value. As a matter of fact, if somebody watch for, you know, I actually, to me, like, Facebook is a fail for me from day one. I always knew it was a fail and it wouldn't work as an audience grabber. Because Facebook, you go on there for like a seconds clips that are fast, few seconds, not even a minute, and then it's done. And so if I'm long form, everything I do, I'm like brown rice and whole wheat and, you know, slow food, you know, tree ripened fruits. You know, you can't, there's no value to fast food people for me. I don't bring value to them, and I know that. Because what they want is instant gratification, and it could take me 15, 20 minutes just to start getting to where I'm getting to. And then another 30 minutes before I really get to the point. Because the point is so, well, whatever, that sometimes I wonder if people follow me, what I'm saying, because my points are go way back in my brain, and then I get to where I'm getting to. This point here today is simple, and you could actually tune out now and you got me. I'm just simply saying we are people of faith, and not only secular people need faith, but everybody needs faith. But in order for you to have faith, you have to exercise patience. If you're an impatient person, easily, as I say, peed off, easily upset, easily get mad, angry. You can't, everything must be now, you can't wait. You're not only not going to be a person of faith, you're going to make a lot of missteps and a lot of blunder. You'll have a messed up life. That's my takeaway point. I'm not trying to teach you nothing more complex than that. It's very simple. I'm just going through text and explanation to explain and prove that point. So I guess that could be a clip, but that's not excited. But when people screaming and making bad choices, I'm like, yeah, you're not exercising faith, and you're impatient. That's your problem, basically. So I'm just teaching you have to exercise patience. And if you're a person of faith, more so. If you're secular, you need to start becoming a person of faith and learn patience. That's my takeaway point. But you say that's not Facebook worthy. Probably YouTube long form. Notice here Proverbs 21 verse 5. Proverbs 21 verse 5 says, the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteous, but of everyone that is hasty only to want. So notice here again, when you're exercising faith, when you're living by faith, an element of that, because that's what we're talking about, studies in faith, I'm showing you characteristics of faith. A character of faith, a concept of faith, a piece of faith, is that you have to be patient. Notice here, the thoughts, not the actions, like what we're talking about in Sabbath school, not your actions, but your thoughts of the diligent. What is the thought of the diligent? You go over the situation over and over again before you make a move. It's not the action. It's all in the head. Your action is now the end product of the diligent thought. So the thoughts, plural, not singular, thoughts of the diligent, the person going over again, and for somebody it's like, oh, because you don't want to make mistake, because I've been there. One bad choice can wipe out so much. Money, time, relationships, one. So when your money is on the line and your time is on the line, you go it over in your mind over and over again. So that when you make that move, you don't burn money. Whether you're buying things, whether you're making a decision for career, you can't afford to change career 20 times in your life. College, buying a house, buying a car, anything you're doing, diligent with it. Because when you make that choice, it's going to affect you long term. So the thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteous. It increases their financial well-being. But of everyone that is hasty, only to want. Because what they say, haste make waste. So if you're a person of faith, you must practice diligence, you must practice patience. You must be at it because you want the fruit, as it says in Luke, and you want to be able to eat the fruit, so you must be very diligent, and you will get the results. But people are hasty, they get mishaps in their lives, mistakes. I've been there how many times I'm cooking something, or I'm making something, and I make a rush, and I make a mistake. Often I say, you know what, I'll pick this up tomorrow. Because if I keep going, I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to lose money, I'm going to lose time. And some of the worst things that's happened like that Friday evening. I'm trying to rush through, close off the Sabbath so I can get to do a devotion. And I'm rushing, bam, and I bang something, say, in the pipe, in the, whatever you call it, faucet. And the thing spill. And I have to clean it up, and I don't have the thing that I was supposed to eat. Haste make waste. One has to sometimes think it's true. People always say, what were you thinking when you make that decision? That seems such a hasty decision. Even recently I was dealing with something with somebody. I can't remember what it was. And they were telling me something, and what I realized is that they didn't think it through. They just rushed out to make a decision. They didn't call and get a backup opinion. And then they didn't ask somebody. As I say, ask somebody. And if you ask somebody, they'll say, and they'll run through the thought with you, and like, that's a bad idea. Haste make waste. But everyone at hasty only to want. Make that diligent decision. Notice here, this is part of the problem of get rich quick. Proverbs 1 verse 19. Proverbs 1 verse 19. Notice it says here in Proverbs 1 verse 19. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof. So when you're greedy of gain, you're not going to be diligent because you want it now. And I always find it fascinating how they always show that so many people who make money quick lose money real quick and lose even more and end up in debt and end up owing because it's not diligence. As I said before, faith and gambling are two different things. Faith and presumptuous, gambling and investment are two different things. Faith is patient. Presumption is lack of patience, impatient. Gambling is not diligent. When you gamble, you're not being diligent. When you are in an investment, you're diligent because you're studying certain factors, certain sequence, certain, what you would call it, certain trends. And you say, based upon this trend, I'm going to make this investment. And you say, according to what's going on, there's more people moving in this town. The people are moving in this town. People are doing this. People are doing this. I'm going to go right ahead and I'm going to invest in that town. And you invest and the numbers work out. That's the difference between just doing something haphazardly and doing something as a plan, a diligent, worked out, executed plan. That's different from gambling. Gambling is, I hope the best. So hope is there, but there's no patience, there's no planning, there's no diligence, so there's no number. The numbers don't come. In 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10 and 11, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10 and 11, it says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Normally to me when you see this, it's like somebody eating and they just swallow down the food fast, right? They're impatient. But everything about Christian life that has to do with faith has to do with just take it easy. Chew your food. Make sure you get everything in. One of the fascinating things about business that I notice is that a person who does business often, if they pay attention good enough, they find other opportunities, right? Because they're finding different opportunities to be able to get to where they need to, because what happened, they're paying attention, they're looking around, they're looking for opportunities. Because in business, sometimes it's not so much the business that presents itself, it's the other business, the little extras that come along. Because you're putting the proper time to diagnose what you're doing, to look at what you're doing, because one mistake can cost you your career. But one good find can blow up your career and make it even better. So when a person, to me, love money, their focal point is not the discipline, it's just the reward. Their focal point is not the discipline, it's not the skill that they're learning, it's not the ability to do this and do this diligently and know how to make the money work. They're looking for fast money. And I've said it over and over again. There's a saying they have in business that easy money come hard and hard money come easy, right? It's when you've learned to not go for easy money, you learn to do it the hard way, then you're doing good business. Because if it's easy money, everybody can do it. You know, somebody said, look, I have a business opportunity for you. You know, normally it's a multi-level marketing strategy, you know what I'm talking about? And they say, we have a business opportunity for you. And you say, okay, how much? And they say, $1,000. And I say, $1,000? So what kind of business opportunity is this? Any good business opportunities, you should be talking about 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200. If it's a franchise, $1 million, $2 million, more. Because anybody can get in. And almost all the time, you have a business opportunity like that. What does it come out to? A scam, a sham. It's always some lie. Because everybody can get in there. It's not as good as they say. And you know, somebody said, Lord, but every now and then one of them work out. Yeah, every now and then one of them work out. But patience shouldn't be everything that everybody can get into. You look at all the latest, as I say, look at all the blockbuster crashes that come from these shams that everybody can get into, and it sounds too good to be real. And it always work out to be too good to be real. So is the way of everybody that is greedy for gain. Another important text here is found in Proverbs chapter 29, verse 20. Proverbs 29, verse 20. Seest thou a man that is hasty in his word? There is more hope for a fool than of him. So this now is taken into account now, even in speech. You know, the Bible says if you can, you know, Paul says if you can speak less and listen more, Paul says you're viewed as wise, right? Here, when we talk about faith, faith to me, which is to exercise patience, part of faith, one of the characteristics of faith, is to evil hold back to say. I've learned over the years that people who they're quick to make a decision, quick to make a commitment, quick to open their mouth and say something, pure fights, pure bad transaction, just hasty. They're too hasty in everything. They're not just hasty to say things that make people want to fight them. They're hasty to commit to things that they shouldn't commit. They just jump into relationships. And, oh, yes. You know, oh, this person is my friend. How did this person become your friend? The last time I see you, you're not no friends. This is your friend. You see them a month later. Oh, no, that person, I'm not friend with that person. That person did me bad. Just, you're too hasty. Because that speak is a symptom of an uncontrolled emotion. The emotional state of the person is uncontrolled, easily swayed. So one of the ways to me to control one emotion so that one doesn't get so caught up is to learn not to do the symptom, which is to speak hastily, to quick to say things. Some people, as I say, it's like their mouth is on some type of banana or something. They just flip them out real quick. And then they regret saying it. And I've talked to people and they say, Lord, you know, even before I say anything, I'm like saying, I say to myself, why am I saying it? Then they go ahead and say it and then feel bad. Sometimes we need to just, as Paul says, we need to listen more than we speak. We need to delay conclusions about people, about business transaction, about making a commitment. Think it over. And when you thought it over, you say, yes, it's a go. Good. So I'll read it again, Proverbs 29, verse 20. Seest thou a man that is hasty in his word? There is more hope of a fool than of him. So the person might be a very sensible, intelligent person. But just that bad characteristic of not exercising faith, of being impatient and speaking impatiently, end up causing that person to be viewed as a fool, because every time they make a hasty decision, if you probably talk to them in their quiet time, they will be like, no way I'll make that decision. But because they're so hasty to make decisions, they trip up. Now I'll give you an example again. I know personally that you could have a conversation with me and say we are talking, right? And say we are talking and you tell me something and I get caught up in the emotions of it. And I say something. And I say something from an emotional, quick. I'm saying quick. I didn't think it through what I'm saying. And I've had that happen. This happened to me multiple times. So I know what I'm talking about. And then now, after I finish the conversation, I think it over and I say, you know, there's some missing information with that conversation. Because there's this thing I need to consider, this thing. And now in my quiet time, I say totally different. I would answer it different. The other thing I've realized also sometimes, when I'm talking to somebody, they don't give me all the information I need to make a decision or to make a suggestion or an advice. I'm advising them based on partial information. And then when I think it again through, after I advise them or give a suggestion, and I think it through, and I say, there's something missing. And I go back and ask the person, oh yeah, there was some information more missing. I'm like, I knew it. And I said, based upon the news of the information, my advice would change. So what I've learned over the years is sometimes, instead of getting caught up in emotions, what I do is I hold back a little bit and say, this is one I think I've learned to say more, that you know all the information, I don't. Based upon what you know, you have to take what I say with a grain of salt and apply it, because I'm not feeling I have all the information. I just cover myself that way. I don't have all the information, so whatever I'm going to say can't be held against me, because, you know, I feel like there's something missing. Because sometimes people tell you something, and it sounds so ridiculous, that you say, there's no way it's not going to be like that. And later on you find out it's not going to be like that. They were not telling you all the truth. So when we have faith, what we have learned to do is we understand sometimes we don't have all the information. And I've never been in a situation where we don't get all the information. I don't have all the information that any good result can come from anything I say. I know that, because it's just you're advising based upon limited information. And even the thing I'm advising might make me sound like a fool, because I don't have all the information. So a lot of the time I just caveat by saying, whatever I'm going to say is based upon the limited information. And so I'm just covering it. I'm not a fool. I'm just giving you based upon what you say. Because some people like to drip feed you the information. And then when you find out there's more, because there's something was missing. Keep that in mind. So as people of faith, we have to make sure we speak less and we delay comment. Sometimes you have to just say, I can't advise. I'm going to pray about that one. Because there's something here that I need to see. And sometimes you sleep on it, the next day you be like, I think I know the answer for it. I've learned some questions don't need to be answered. As a matter of fact, I was dealing with something where some questions, as I say, don't need to be answered immediately. I need more information. In Proverbs 15, verse 27, as we double down into faith is the exercise of patience. If you're faithful, you have to be patient. Else you're just making unfaithful decisions. And you might be a person of faith, but you're rushing into decisions, and it's going to be bad. Notice here, Proverbs 15, verse 27 say, he that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live. So notice, when you're greedy for gain, you trouble your own house, because what it is that results take time. It's not that you can't gain. The Bible is not anti-gain. As a matter of fact, the whole concept of the Bible, most of the concept of the Bible is blessing and growth and fruit. But it comes through patience. It comes through being diligent. It comes through applying yourself, through putting in the time. And as the time rolls by, you'll get your result. So he that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house. He's not just troubling, the other people. He's troubling his own house. How many people I've seen over the years, they come and go, they try to get everything, and it just fails. We can't be greedy. We have to give it time. Hebrews 12, verse 11 says, wherefore, seeing we are also compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So we all have a race that is set before us. We all have a race that we have to run. But the race that we have to run, as he says here, we're running with patience. And we have examples of people that have run the race with patience. Interesting enough, is that oftentimes when I see people draw up images of the patriarchs, sometimes they draw them and I realize they draw them too old, or sometimes they draw them most of the time too old, and sometimes they draw them young. But many times we realize that some of the patriots and some of the people in the Bible characters that they talk about, sometimes I realize they were really young, right? And then sometimes I realize they were real old. But then sometimes when they draw them old, when you read the Bible says, this person's eyes was not dimmed when they died, and their vigor was full. So I realize they draw them as a whole man because that's their concept of the person. But when you read the Bible description of the person, you say, man, I wonder how strong they were, because the Bible describes them as strong. That's a side note. Why is that important? Because what I realize in life is that you have to run a long race. And one thing with the people who are examples of faith is that it was always consistent that they were running a three-dimensional, four-dimensional, I don't know how to describe it, race. You think about a John the Baptist, even though he died young, his health was very important. And his diet and lifestyle was of such that he could maintain himself and maintain that level of posture in the midst of a wilderness. And so he's running a different race. And so what it is that when we look at the examples that are set before us, we're looking at examples of people who are running a race, as they say, but they're running with patience. So they have to, sometimes you have to make people go along because they're running a different race. Our race cannot be run without patience. We have to live by faith because we have a different race we're running. You see, you can't, somebody said, but what if I'm in America and the politicians, they're running one race? You got to make them run their race, but you have to say, go ahead, you do your race. I'm not in your race, I'm in a different race. You see? They're in the race for see who is dominant, who is the best, and who can have a legacy and all that. We're in a different race. We're not in that race. So you have to ask yourself, so what is the race you're running? And how long you want to run this race? Because for us, we're trying to stay alive as long as we can. And we're trying to run the best race. We're trying to get the best experience. We have a superior message and a superior results. So our race is a different race. They have a race where it's a short-term race. It's just come and go. These politicians come and go. These pastors, they come and go. See, we've been in it and we're still in the race because we're running a multi-dimensional race. Probably that's the best way to say it. So our race is very multi-dimensional. So we do health. We do mind. We're doing, we're doing character development. We're doing technical development when it comes on to, technology, stuff like that. We're doing business. We're into finance. We're into everything. We're running a very multifaceted race. They're just running a race where they're just trying to fix this and we're doing that and more. So we're not in their race. They're in a different race. We're in a long race and we're in a hard race. We're running a hard race. We have a multidiscipline race. So we can't be in their race. And so we're experiencing a race of faith. We're not trying to make a mark just here on earth. We're trying to make a mark for eternity. They just have a very short-term view. So for them, their race could be just, they went and visited the Eiffel Tower. They went to see Big Ben. And that's their race, and now they can die of cancer. That's not our race. We're not doing that race. They're going to go on a world cruise and then they peg out or they kill themselves because they've lived all the life they can live. We're not doing that race. So we have a different race we're running. We're training mind and body and mind, hands and brain. They're just doing a race where it's just about how much money you have. The person who died with the most toy win. We're different race. We're taking care of family. We're taking care of health. We're doing all of that. And we're doing a superior race to the best medical. It doesn't matter if it's, John Hopkins Hospital. We're in a bigger, better race than all of them. Our results are better than every doctor in John Hopkins Hospital or any hospital in America. That's our race. So we have a higher bar. We're not in their race. They say they have something superior. Their medical system is not superior to our race. But that's our race. Our race is totally different. We do church here. Our church, we're not trying to be in the top 1%. So we're trying to do something superior to everything that's out there. That's our race. So for us, the discipline is much superior to anything that's out there. Because we're trying to get somewhere that, as I say, Star Trek, since they were on the TV this week, I think. Is it Star Trek? The guy that went up into space, or the outer edges of space, and he I found that fascinating, right? The guy that went up, what's his name? Captain Kirk, I think his name. He went up to the outer edge of space. They say he went up in the sky and came back. And he came back down and they asked him a question, which I said was a profound answer, but I found it kind of, I was laughing when he said it. He said that when he saw it, he saw death because he's 90-something or 90. And he said he saw death and life or something like that. And then he explained what he was saying. You can watch the clip. So I thought it was funny because I was expecting something more profound. But the profanity that he said was, I guess, because he's facing death at 90, but he get to get this experience. And to me, that's one of the reasons why I was thinking about this idea: you're going to work cruise and you peg out, you kick the bucket or something, because that's it. That's a life. I acted as a space person, and then I went out to the outer space, and that's the circle of life. Now they can sing. But that's not our race. You know, we want to get up there, but not that way. We want to get beyond where they went. We're in a different experience. We look to as our mentors, you know, Matthew, James, Luke, Jeremiah, Isaiah. We're trying to run the race that they run. We have Jesus as our mark. We're in a different experience. We're talking about how to impact society for the good that is lasting impact, for the salvation of humanity, for the salvation of souls. It's a total different aim and race. We want to help those who are fatherless, widow, and those who are less fortunate or oppressed. That's our race. They're in a different race. They're in a race for, I don't know, for a cheap thrill, a roller coaster ride. But our race demands patience. Our race demands that we run that race because that's a race that's set before us. Our race demands that our brains are trained. Our vocal cords are trained. Our breathing is trained. I was watching a video with breathing, you know, people doing breathing thing, and I was seeing something new in that, and I was like, that's so fascinating. That the body can be so under control. That's our race. We're in a race that our hands need to be skillful to execute for the Lord. That's our race. In Micah 24, verse 46 through 51, Micah 24, verse 46 through 51, verse 46 of Micah 24 said, "Blessed is that servant to whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you that he shall make him ruler over all his goods." See, this is our race. "But if that evil servant shall say in the heart, My Lord delayed." Remember, patience can suffer delay. "My Lord delayed his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servant and eat and drink with the drunken." This is what's literally happened. So many people are getting taken out with drugs and alcohol, eating and drinking with the drunkards. That's all they're doing every day. They headed into Skid Row. This is what we were at. Because the Lord delays coming. People believe the Lord's not going to come because they listen to all these false mark of the beast preachers who every week they're preaching that Jesus is about to come, the mark of the beast is about to happen. And when it doesn't happen, I've known so many people personally, worship with people who fall to this trap, and they keep listening to these mark of the beast preachers who every week they preach mark of the beast. And when there's no mark of the beast, they go out there and they went back to their pig food and their dog food, and they've gone backwards because all they were excited about is that things are going to wrap up because David Gates said so, or it's going to wrap up next week. And because it didn't wrap up, they're like, well, it's time to go back to eating pig's food, and they're gone. Very sad, very disappointing. So they started to eat and drink with the drunkards. "The Lord of that servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour when he's not aware of." And this is so true, because so much people have known that they now sleep in the grave. They choke on the pig food. And verse 51, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites, the actors, the fake people that we have in the church that's faking. There's fakers around the place. And there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, because when the Lord comes, they're going to realize, I made a mistake. Why did I go back to the pig's food? We got to stay away from jello. Notice in James chapter 5, verse 7, James chapter 5, verse 7 and 8, as we talk about patience. And notice it says here, be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waited for the precious fruit of the earth, and had long patience for it, until he receiveth the early and latter rain, which is normally in this time of the year. Be ye also patient, establish your heart, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. So even though there might seem to be a delay, the Lord says the person that is blessed is the person that, while this same delay is going on, is still trying to teach and preach to is God's servants the good word. He's trying to feed them. And God said that person is blessed. But we want the precious fruit. But we must exercise patience. We must exercise, period. I'm talking about exercise, spiritual exercises. We must study. We must pray. We must apply. We must practice. We must observe. We must be about our Father's business. Because if Christ doesn't come next week or he doesn't come next year, God's business is still need to be done. Because God's business is the poor. God's business is the less fortunate. God's business is those who are ignorant. God's business is the fatherless, the widow. Those business are always going to be, because Christ said the poor will always be with you. God's business is always going to be preaching the gospel, because souls need to answer and souls need a blessing. So be patient, therefore, brethren, because the coming of the Lord, unto the coming of the Lord. So at the end of the day, no matter what delay is assumed happening, we have to be patient. Else we're going to start doing crazy stuff because we're impatient and we think that we want the benefit right away. We're going to make choices that's going to trip us up because we're making a rash choice. You fight good war through patience. You suffer delay, setback, but you'll get the results. Sometimes you have to make 2 steps backward in order to go forward. Sometimes you have to pop yourself out of relationship so you can get yourself in the right relationship. Sometimes you have to hold on for opportunity to come so you can get in the right business. Sometimes you're going to have to lose some money in order to make some money, because often somebody says some of your best lessons are learned in losses. And that's the sad reality of life. Sometimes your most powerful lessons are learned when you lose some money, when you lose some time, when you lose some sleep. And you say, man, I ain't going to do that ever again. I learned my lesson. Boy, that was a beatdown. But that takes delay, that takes trouble, that takes difficulty. You don't learn those lessons overnight. You know, I said it here before. They say an old person or a wise person never desire to be young again. Because when you're young, you don't have the experience, you didn't go through those hard knocks, and you have that naivety, and you think things are going to be a certain way. But now when you get older, you will enter things a little bit slower. You slow things down a little bit. Because faith demands substance and evidence. It demands facts. It demands time. You can't make fast decisions and say you're living by faith, because things take a while to work out. When you rush things, you get bad results, because that's what it is. We can't be in haste, because haste creates a lot of trouble. Notice here in Luke 21, verse 16. Luke 21, verse 16. And we close on this text to 21. Luke 21, verse 16 through 21. And notice he says, and ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends. And some of you shall they cause to be put to death. Now the people who are doing this, as I say, are the secular people, or the people who were once Christian and have lost their way and they have gone to eat pig's food. They're the one that's going to be persecuting the righteous. They are not living by faith, and they have no patience. They're making decisions on emotions. They're making decisions without thinking things through. This is going to be the end product of the end of the world. This is going to be what happened at the end of the world. You watch a person who's doing this, they'll persecute anybody. Because they panic. We got to do this. And we got to do what we going to do. Oh, we got to do this because this is happening. And what are you going to do? Are we going to do bad things to solve the problem? Because we got to do it. We got to do it. We got to take one for the team. We can't get part of that. If you don't practice this now to exercise faith, to live by faith, and to exercise patience, you will be part of the people who are persecuting people. I will be. Because I want something and I want it now. And the way to get it is to stop the bad people. And who are the bad people? The good people. Because that's what this is. So we have to practice faith. We have to be patient. Because you don't, when panic is setting, that's the worst time to act. You want to be able to act before the panic sets in. You want to be ahead of the game. What do you think I talk about certain things and I look into certain things. Why? Because I want to know what's coming. Because whatever bad is coming, when it comes, people panic. It's the people especially who's not paying attention. And they make decisions without having all the facts. And what we're seeing right now in our society is that over and over again, played out in various different sectors. They're making a rash decision today, and they're going to have to panic worse tomorrow. Because that's going to get worse. They're not fixing a problem today to stop a problem tomorrow. Because that would be fate. They're making a dumb choice now that is based upon emotions that tomorrow are going to get them in bigger trouble. They're jumping off frying pan into fire. And we can't do this. But they're going to keep doing this until they go make the wheels come off of this place. So we have to exercise patience so they'll become part of that. We have to learn to say, I'll wait for more data. I'll wait for more facts. I'll wait for more truth to come out. I will not run to experience, run to a conclusion. It popped in my mind, so I'll give you an example. I remember when there was an accusation with some young men, 5 young men, I think it's called Central Park 5, that they had raped this woman. Now, you know the history of America, that so many black men has been murdered and killed and put in prison for life for raping women, raping white women, let's be clear. So these 5 men were accused of raping women. And there's a lot of people who jump to conclusion. Now that, to me, the weird thing about that is that by then I thought there would be enough evidence available that this was a regular behavior. And that the opposite should happen. They should have pulled back and said, wait, stop. We need massive amount of evidence for this because this is a sin of our society. No, they run. And I'm like, wait a minute. That should have been, Donald Trump should have taken out a New York Times whole-page advertisement saying, listen, we have lynching of black men in America. Let's stop this madness. Let's do proper investigation. Instead of putting out a newspaper saying, we need to lynch them. Rash. So that's important for you to note and to understand. Often when you see a trend, you need to move against the trend when the trend always ended bad. So again, this time I was kind of surprised that since we just settled multiple lawsuits with these pharmaceutical companies, that we just said, wait. Slow it down. These companies murder us all the time and our kids and maim us up and call it disabled. Look at the amount of disability in America. I never remember growing up seeing all the disability, but we live in this culture where they just allow the pharmaceutical companies to disable them or make them go crazy, and then they just keep moving on. That's so, I would have think people are like, no. Haven't we done this before, people? Let's just hold on here. Yes, there's a bad problem, but first we need to investigate where did the disease come from, and we need to be able to understand, are any of the people who are going to build a solution, were they part of the part of the building of the disease? First, before you give them contracts. But no, we rush. So I'm encouraging you, don't be part of the evildoers, because it's not that they're evil per se, it's that they rush to make decisions. They don't get the facts together. And anybody that does this, it don't matter who you are, as I said, nothing personal, it just matters your decision-making process. That's what's evil. You know, a person could be a nice person, sweet, as I say, sweetheart, as our brother Ernest always say. But let them have a decision making that is rash, and they don't get the facts together, and they're just a bad person. Not just based on their decision making. They just make bad decisions. We need to be patient, brethren. We need to exercise faith. We need to apply. You apply what you know. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do and you keep getting bad results, you can't blame God. You have to say, I keep making the bad choices and I'm suffering. We must be honest. That's the only way to move forward. Almost there. Notice verse 17. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. You can understand. Somebody will hate me for saying all this. Just be disgusted with me. I get that. I expect that. Why? Because people want to make dumb choices. They like being emotionally dragged. I don't even like preaching and using too much emotional nothing. But I believe emotion should be part of what we do. But it's principle over emotion. Emotions are there. You have to be emotional over something. You got to be excited over something. But too often people are unprincipled but filled with emotions. So when you're patient, you learn to hold back the emotion. You practice. And the better we get at it, the better it is for us. To practice holding back the emotions and make principle rule, facts rule, substance rule, evidence rule. And make evidence-based decisions. And I know this might sound different from somebody who preach because most preachers, they're emotion-based. And that's why the church is so corrupt and the members are so messed up. But we got to, even in sickness or in health, we learn to make our emotions sit at the back and our intellect and our principle goes to the forward. That's why we have emotions back here and we have principles back here. We have verse, all of a sudden I forget what it is. So we have our emotional seat and then we have our frontal lobe right here. God wants us to make this become the control and this become secondary. That's what conversion to me simply is. So they hate us because we are principled over emotion. But there shall not an hair of your head perish. In your patience possess your soul. In your what? Patience. So we have to hold. And it's something that doesn't come without practice. Because again, sometimes you have to practice delay when your food is late. And it's 1 o'clock and you were supposed to eat at 11 o'clock. Patience. You maintain your emotions. By practicing this, you start to teach your emotions, train your emotion not to get in the way. And not to trip you up and make you say something rash, whatever. So you have to be excited and hold back. Hold. Because your emotions will be controlled. People are controlled. I said it here before, and somebody had mentioned it to me. Do you think NBC News, CNN, ABC, CBS, BBC News will ever go into the hospital and interview somebody that is in the hospital or about to go in ICU or just coming out of the ICU that took the COVID vaccine? You think they're going to do that? Because that would sway the emotions of people, whether or not you agree with the vaccine or not. But they're not going to do that because they're wicked. They will go into the hospital and mock somebody that took the vaccine, that didn't take the vaccine, that is in ICU or about to peg out or about to die. But how about all the people now that are in the hospital that took the vaccine and the people who are dying? They go to the family and say, how do you feel? Do you feel duped? Because your family took the vaccine that was 95% protection from getting the COVID. And now not only they got it, but they became hospitalized, they became severely infected, end up in the ICU, and now they're dead. How do you feel about that? What do you think about Pfizer and Moderna? You think they're great? How about Johnson & Johnson? Well, everybody knows Johnson & Johnson is at the worst, right? How do you feel? They don't do that, right? But they go and mock people who didn't take the vaccine. But now that the breakthrough infections are increasing, notice they're quietly pulling away from talking about this only unvaccinated people in the hospital. See, but emotions will catch you, and you could get emotional either way, and you're just making an unprincipled decision. We've got to make sure that we don't get swayed by wicked people with their emotions when they use their emotion. Oh, look at this guy, he's dying. And make facts rule us, principle rule us. So that we not be one of those people in the multitude say, crucify him, because some wicked Pharisees, some wicked megachurch pastor or whatever have gotten you all whipped up into emotions. Notice the most emotional people in our society are the prosperity gospel, praise and worship church people. They're so emotional. And it's led by women. It's women-led churches. They might have a male pastor, but sometimes it's a female pastor like Paula White and whatever. They had the Bynum and all the other crazy people. But it's work up them emotions. And it's all these female out front, and it's female-driven churches. God said, no, we don't need that. We need churches that principle is there. We need church that people are not screaming and shouting and getting into ecstasy in church. We don't need that. We need some principle, because emotion gets you when you become part of the rebel rousers that are there joining Hitler or joining slavery or joining Jim Crow or joining something and not thinking, listen, we have a problem, but we don't need to fix it this way. Notice here in verse 19 again, in your patience possess your souls. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, know that desolation is there of his nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee unto the mountain, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the country enter therein. So if you're out, you stay out. You stay in the country, you stay in the country. You're not going back in. As we know, these are days that are in front of us. There will be days that we'll see coming. But in your patience, you have to possess your soul, because when you see the wicked people betraying people and selling out people and lying and hiding data and covering stuff and all of that type of stuff, and then giving money to billionaires, and listen, your patience, you possess your soul. When you see things are getting wrapped up and the disasters are increasing, in your patience, if you're in Judah, you need to leave. If you're in Jerusalem, you need to leave, because trouble is coming. And let the wicked people go amass themselves in one location so they can be wiped out like the Sodomites and the Gomorrites. Because they're going to go down a certain path, and it will lead, mark my word, to death and destruction. But you are called, and I am called, to exercise faith. And faith cannot be exercised without patience, because it's a character of faith. You cannot be an impatient person and get the results. You have to plan ahead. You have to look at the data, because you look into the future. Everything is future looking. You're not making choices for now that will affect you negatively later, because you're looking for fruit and you want the results. You want the good results. So I pray, as Sister Tamara comes to sing a closing hymn for you, I pray that you might exercise more faith. But one of the places you start with is with patience. You exercise patience with your food, you exercise regularity, you exercise scheduling, you try to keep faithful to what you're doing, and I guarantee you'll get the results. You will get more faithful, because patience, as I say, is a key factor or component of faith. May God bless you in this upcoming week, and may his blessing really be upon you as you exercise patience. God bless.
Please take your hymnals in hand and turn to hymn number 100. We'll be closing with hymn number 100. Great is thy faithfulness.
As the husband, the
ask you to kindly bow your heads as we have our closing prayer. Dear kind, merciful Father, Lord, we are so thankful for the mercies that you've bestowed upon us from the beginning of the Sabbath to now. Lord, I ask that you will help us to possess our souls with patience. I ask, Lord, that you will help us to always remember that there is no rush nor delay with thee, and that as long as we are faithful in waiting upon thee, that you will deliver in due time and the time that is best for us. I pray that you will continue to be with us through the remaining moments of this Sabbath, and that you will be with us through this new upcoming week. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you again for joining us and worshiping with us this day. I pray that the Lord will be with you as we look to enter a new week. I pray the Lord will give you strength for the trials and tribulations that lay ahead, and the joy for the blessings that he will bestow upon us. And I pray that you will join us again next Sabbath as we continue our study in Sabbath School regarding this quarter's theme, Present Truth in Deuteronomy. And I pray that you will be blessed this day and through the rest of the week. Thank you again for joining. God bless.